Django interview questions and answers. Beginner means advanced. Introduction. This is a structured set of commonly asked Django interview questions with clear answers. It covers Django fundamentals and MVT architecture, models, ORM and databases, views, templates, and forms, middleware, authentication, and security, REST framework, DRF, and API development, caching, concurrency, and performance, advanced concepts and deployment. This is widely used for Python web developer and Django engineer interviews. 1 to 20. Django basics and architecture. What is Django? Django is a high-level Python web framework that encourages rapid development and clean, pragmatic design. Why is Django popular? Batteries included. Comes with built-in admin, auth, ORM, and forms. Secure. Protects against SQL injection, XSS, CSRF, and clickjacking by default. Scalable and fast. Handles high-traffic sites efficiently. Excellent documentation. Exceptionally well-maintained documentation. What architecture does Django follow? Django follows the MVT, Model View Template Architecture, which is a slight variation of the classic MVC pattern. What is the role of the model? The model handles the data layer and database schema. Example, Python, from Django.db import models. Class product, models.model. Name equals models.char field, max length 100. 5. What is the role of the view? The view contains the business logic, handles HTTP requests, and returns HTTP responses. Example, Python, from Django.http import HTTP response. Def, home, request. Return HTTP response, hello world. 6. What is the role of the template? The template represents the presentation layer, HTML mixed with Django template language. How does Django handle a URL request? Through the URL dispatcher, urls.py. It matches the requested URL against pattern expressions and routes it to the corresponding view function or class. What is settings.py? The central configuration file for a Django project, containing database settings, installed apps, middleware, static file paths, and security keys. 9. What is wsgi.py? Web Server Gateway Interface. It serves as the entry point for WSGI-compatible web servers like Gunicorn to serve your project. 10. What is ASGI.py? Asynchronous Server Gateway Interface. It provides an entry point for async-capable web servers like Daphne or Uvicorn to support WebSockets and async views. What is an app in Django? A self-contained, reusable web application module that performs a specific function, e.g. a blog app, a payment app. A project is a collection of apps and configurations. How do you create a new Django project and app? Run these commands in your terminal. Bash, Django admin start project my project, Python manage.py start app, my app. What is Django template language, DTL? A syntax designed to dynamically generate HTML using variables and tags. Example, HTML. P, welcome, user username. What are template filters? Filters transform the values of variables before displaying them. Example, HTML element product.name lower. What are template tags? Tags provide arbitrary logic during the rendering process, e.g., loops, conditionals. Example, HTML, if user is authenticated, p logged in, pp endif. What is the context dictionary in views? A dictionary mapping template variable names to Python objects, passed from the view to the template during rendering. How do you pass context to a template? Using the render shortcut, Python return, render, request, index.html, message, hello. 18. What is the purpose of manage.py? A command line utility that lets you interact with your Django project, running the server, making migrations, creating superusers. What is the difference between Django and Flask? Django is a heavy, batteries-included, full-stack framework. Flask is a lightweight micro-framework that leaves database and routing tools up to extensions. What is a virtual environment, and why use it with Django? An isolated environment that allows you to manage specific dependencies and package versions for your Django project without breaking global system libraries. 21 to 40. Models, ORM, and databases, 21. What is Django ORM? Object Relational Mapper. It allows you to interact with your SQL database using Python code instead of writing raw SQL queries. What are migrations in Django? Django's way of propagating changes you make to your models, adding a field, deleting a model, into your database schema. What is the difference between make migrations and migrate? Make migrations inspects models and creates new migration files based on detected changes. Migrate applies those migration files to the actual database schema. What are query sets? A collection of database lookups or objects from the database. Query sets are lazy, meaning creation doesn't hit the database, evaluation does. How do you fetch all records from a model? Use the .all method. Python products equals product.objects.all. What is the difference between filter and exclude? Filter returns a query set containing objects that match the lookup parameters. Exclude returns a query set containing objects that do not match the lookup parameters. What is the difference between get and filter? Get returns a single object, throws an exception, does not exist, or multiple objects returned if conditions aren't perfectly met, ? Always returns a query set, list-like, even if empty or containing one element. How do you handle database relationships in Django? Foreign key, many-to-one relationship, many-to-many field, many-to-many relationship, one-to-one field, one-to-one relationship. Foreign key example. Python class post, models.model. Title equals models.char field, max length 200. Author equals models.foreign key user. OnDelete models.cascade. What does onDelete equals models cascade do? If the referenced object, e.g. the user, is deleted, all objects referencing it, e.g. their posts, will be automatically deleted. What is related name in fields? It defines the name of the reverse relation from the related model back to your model. If omitted, Django defaults to model name set. What is the n+1 queries problem, and how do you fix it? It occurs when a query executes one database call for a parent object, then n additional calls for related children. Fix it using selectRelated or prefetchRelated. 33. What is the difference between selectRelated and prefetchRelated? SelectRelated performs an SQL join on the single-valued relationships, foreign key, one-to-one, in the same query. PrefetchRelated performs a separate lookup for multi-valued relations, many-to-many field, reverse foreign keys, and does the joining in Python. 34. How do you execute raw SQL in Django? Using manager.raw for raw queries returning model instances, or accessing connection.cursor directly. What are abstract base classes in Django models? Models used when you want to put common information into multiple fields. You add abstract equals true in the meta class. Django won't create a database table for it. What is model inheritance? Django supports 3 styles. Abstract base classes, multi-table inheritance, creates a separate table for child with implicit one-to-one, and proxy models. Changes Python behavior only. What are Django signals? A framework that allows decoupled applications to get notified when actions occur elsewhere in the framework, e.g. post-save, pre-delete. Signal example. Python from django.db.models.signals, import post-save from django.dispatch import receiver. At receiver, post-save, sender equals user. Def create profile, sender instance, created, coworks. If created, profile.objects.create, user instance. What is QObjects? Used to compose complex database queries with logical operators like and, or, and not. 40. What is fExpressions? Represents the value of a model field directly in the database, allowing you to manipulate database field values without pulling them into Python memory. 41 to 60. Views, templates, and forms. What is the difference between FBVs and CBVs? Function-based views, FBVs, explicit, simple, and straightforward to read code explicitly handling requests. Class-based views, CBVs, object-oriented approach that utilizes inheritance and mixins to reuse common patterns, e.g. list view, detail view. Class-based view example. Python from Django.views.generic import list view. From .models import book. Class book list view. List view. Model equals book. Template name equals book list.html. What is a mixin in Django CBVs? A subclassing primitive providing structural code blocks that inject specific behavior or access rights into class views. What are Django forms? Components that handle user input validation, HTML generation, data cleaning, and processing. What is the difference between form and model form? Form, explicitly defined fields where data handling is written manually. Model form, automatically builds form fields mapped directly from a specified model. 46. Model form example. Python from Django import forms from .models import article. Class article form, forms.model form. Class meta, model equals article, fields equals title, content. 47. What does isValid do? Runs validation routines on the submitted data. If fields are correct, it returns true and places validated data into the cleaned data dictionary. What is cleaned data? A dictionary containing sanitized, clean, Python-typed values extracted from successfully validated form fields. How do you implement custom field validation? By defining a method named clean_fieldName inside your form class. How do you handle file uploads in Django views? Data comes through request.files. Ensure your HTML form includes ncaptip, multipart, form data. 51. What is CSRF token and why is it required? Cross-site request forgery token, a cryptographic secret injected into post forms to guarantee data was intentionally posted by the authorized user. How do you apply a CSRF token in a template? Use the %CSRF token tag inside forms. HTML form, method post, %CSRF token, %button type submit, submit button. 53. What is the purpose of Django.shortcuts.redirect? Returns an HTTP redirect response sending visitors to a different URL path or named URL routing pattern. What is the purpose of Django.shortcuts.getObject or 404? Tries to pull an object from a model manager. Automatically serves an HTTP 404 response page if target item is missing. What is context processor? A function that injects key value pairs into the template parsing engine globally across all view contexts, e.g., current global site configurations. What is session management? Django tracks user states across multiple requests using a signed cookie, storing a unique session ID stream, referencing server-side data tables. 57. What are messages framework? A flash notification engine enabling you to queue user-facing string alerts on one-page request and dismiss them on subsequent views. How do you implement URL reverse resolution? Using the reverse function in Python code or the %URL template tag in layout designs, removing hard-coded relative system endpoints. Reverse URL template tag example. HTML. ahref URL profile detail user ID %. View profile. How do you restrict page access to logged-in users? Use @login required decorator on FBVs, or mixin login required mixin into CBVs. 61 to 80. Middleware, authentication, and security. 61. What is middleware? A lightweight plugin system that hooks into Django's request-response lifecycle to globally process requests before they hit views, or modify responses before delivery. Show basic middleware structure. Python class simple middleware. Def init self get response. Self.getResponse equals getResponse. Def _call request. Code executed before view calls response equals self.getResponse. Code executed after view returns. Return response. 63. Name default built-in middleware packages. Security middleware, session middleware, common middleware, CSRF view middleware, authentication middleware. 64. How does Django handle user authentication? Via the Django.contrib.auth module, containing a built-in user model, validation backends, and permission flags. How do you change standard login fields to use email instead of username? Create a custom model inheriting from abstract user or abstract base user and modify username field equals email. 66. Custom user model example. Python from Django.contrib.auth.models import abstract user. From Django.db import models. Class custom user abstract user. Email equals models.email field. Unique true. Username field equals email. Required fields equals username. How do you register your custom user model? Update the string value key variable inside settings.py. Python auth user model equals myapp.customuser. What are Django permissions and groups? Permissions set granular access hooks, add, change, delete, view to models. Groups organizes sets of permissions that are easily bound to clusters of users simultaneously. What is the difference between isStaff and isSuperUser? isStaff allows users to log in to the Django administration dashboard interface. isSuperUser grants global all-access pass privileges across permissions profiles without explicit manual validation checklistings. How does Django protect against SQL injection? The ORM securely parameters and filters database input queries natively, preventing direct malicious sequence execution. How does Django block XSS, cross-site scripting? Django templates automatically escape special HTML tags, X and, to literal strings, unless intentionally flagged via safe declarations. What is clickjacking protection in Django? The X-frame options middleware blocks malicious pages from framing layout views inside overlay viewports. What is the importance of secret key? A uniquely cryptographically salted key utilized for sign validations, sessions, tokens, password resets. Compromising it puts app states at risk. How should you protect secrets in production environments? Read parameters directly from environment variable spaces or credential managers. Never hardcode explicit strings to generic repository code, storage track logs. What is CORS and why is it configured? Cross-origin resource sharing. Governs browser data exchange policies across different web domain contexts. Managed in Django using Django course headers 76. What is Django Admin Panel? A dynamically auto-generated backend interface reading model data layers to support instantaneous CRUD work out of the box. 77. How do you register a model into the admin panel view? Python from Django.contrib import admin, from .models import product. Admin.site.register, product. 78. What is model admin customization? Inheriting specialized attributes inside admin.py to change table layout tracking arrays, list display, list filter, search fields. What is password hashing mechanism in Django? Natively handles security by encoding inputs with PBKDF2 cryptography and SHA-256 hashes out of the box. What is user decorators use case? Restricts request paths using validators like @userPassesTest or @permissionRequired. 81 to 100. Advanced Concepts and Django REST Framework, DRF 81. What is Django REST Framework, DRF? A toolkit built on top of Django, used to quickly design flexible and secure web REST APIs. 82. What is a serializer in DRF? Converts database structures and query sets into JSON or XML data formats, and handles deserialization, validation, back to Python instances. DRF. Model serializer example. Python from REST Framework. Import serializers from .models import product. Class product serializer, serializers.model serializer. Class meta, model product, fields all. 84. What are view sets in DRF? Controller logic abstractions, allowing you to bundle structural CRUD behaviors. List, create, retrieve, update, destroy within a single class declaration. What are API view and generic API view? API view. Simple subclass wrapper delivering raw controls over request handling methods, get, post. Generic API view. Specialized helper hooks bundled to easily map properties directly from models and queries. How does authentication operate in DRF? Plugs into view attributes directly validating token keys via protocols like Basic, Session, JWT, Django REST Framework Simple JWT, or custom authorization methods. 87. What is throttling in APIs? regulates requests passing into APIs within configured time intervals, preventing script scrapers or brute force floods. How do you manage pagination configurations in DRF? Set global indicators in settings configuration parameters, or use class declarations like page number pagination or limit offset pagination. What is asynchronous execution engine inside modern Django models? Async mechanisms utilizing async def declarations to query resources safely without thread locking.
What is Celery, and why is it coupled with Django?
An asynchronous task queue engine used to execute long-running operations like bulk emailing or video encoding in the background. What is a database connection pool? Reuses pre-established persistent connections to target database hosts, reducing query handshake latency. How does caching operate in Django? Stores pre-rendered structures or granular operations in rapid memory frameworks such as Redis or Memcached, cutting DB resource dependencies. Show basic viewpoint caching method. Python from django.views.decorators.cache, import cache page. At cache page 60 × 15. Def my view. Caches view response data for 15 minutes. 94. What is the difference between select for update and normal evaluation queries? Locks targeted record rows during atomic transaction phases until current execution commits complete. Blocking race conditions. What are fixture files? JSON or XML data dumps used to reliably load initial mock structures or unit configuration records into database schemas via load data. What is unit testing framework structure in Django? Inherits test structures using Python unit test modules, creating a fresh, isolated database environment automatically for each test execution run. Basic testing example. Python from Django.test import test case. From .models import product. Class, product test, test case. Def test creation. Item equals product.objects.create. Name book. Self.assert equal item.name book. What is WSGI versus ASGI deployment? WSGI, synchronous model frameworks tailored for standard transactional layouts. ASGI handles stateful socket tunnels, WebSockets, or async long polling setups. What are performance optimization steps for deployment? Turn off debug flag, debug equals false. Minify and store static items using CDNs or white noise. Implement index parameters on frequently filtered model database rows. Use connection pooling and structured query lookups. 100. How to master Django. Plus, master standard Python OOP patterns. Plus, learn the Django core source workflows and ORM generation patterns deeply. Design full-stack multi-tier production APIs using DRF. Plus, build projects that handle complex problems like background task execution, caching, and real-time data streaming. Summary. Django interviews focus on architecture paradigms, MVT, and URL routing dispatch mechanics. Heavy focus on ORM logic optimization tools, select-related queries profiles. State operations, form validation tracks, and security validations. CSRF, XSS blocks. Building APIs using Django REST Framework. Production performance tuning. Caching, Celery workers, scaling deployments. Key idea. Strong Django developers write idiomatic code that minimizes database queries, maintains strict security postures, and optimizes data layer performance.